And a lot of it is because
let's stop on that, folks.
Oh my God, we had a great dinner. We had a great dinner, by the way, where across the table, your husband goes, but why? And I said, well, maybe because I can.
Yes, Parish. This is what I'm saying. Tales from Tracee's.
It's fun. It's very fun to share.
Tracee tale.
But
I'm sorry.
But one of the reasons, though, that because I had to ask myself that question, I was like, what is this about?
Yeah.
Because I want a partner. And so often, and it's not just that I'm older, I'm also very embodied. I am a full, very whole person who knows myself, who is in charge of my life, and who lives a very full, just robust life. So it's not just age, it's like life experience and sort of a difference. But I had to ask myself the question, why? Why does this keep sort of coming up other than they're hot and gorgeous?
There's that.
But a lot of men my age are steeped in a toxic masculinity and have been raised in a culture where there is a particular way that a relationship looks. And anything that starts to smell of that for me, I did enough of it where I was controlled and felt like I was a possession or whatever those things were, or prize and I have no interest in it, and I will not do it again.
Hey guys, welcome to Little Blackbird 91. Can I be honest with you? I think this Tracee Ross Ellis situation, a lot of people are talking about the age thing, and I think that's an important thing, right? And people are talking about whether she wants to control relationships. I'll discuss that in a second or two. I think for me personally, the thing that set off the alarm bells for me is whenever we start generalizing the opposite sex in that negative way as to why we don't date them or why we don't date that particular type of people, that usually tells me about you, right? From my coaching experience. And from listening to conversations a lot, when men do it, I go, they got problems. And when women do it, I say they got problems. Whenever you're the party that always generalizes the opposite sex as doing this as to why you don't date that, and it leads to this particular outcome where you're going to date someone younger, or where a black man says, I don't date dark-skinned women, or women start saying, I don't date dark-skinned men, I don't date light-skinned men, I don't date dark-skinned women, men. Whenever we start making those generalizations that force us into a particular space, and you hear that, trust and believe that they are the issue most times, right? Now, she talks about the fact that she wants to in charge of her life, right? Which really means just control, okay? And that she's dealt with men her own age who are more concerned with toxic masculinity and actually just being able to control her. Can I be honest with you? Men are men. Did you think that men change in the different age group because they were slightly younger than you? They're in the same toxic masculinity. Ask a woman in that age group if they're suffering the same way. So then, is it really about the fact that the men are having less toxic masculinity in that age group? Or is it the fact that you have a power dynamic in that relationship? When you choose to date younger, you have more control, right? Because the ladies are complaining about the men in every generation. So where are you going that you're going to another generation and you're not having the same issues that the ladies are having when it comes to toxic masculinity? Because it seems to be toxic masculinity when the older generation, there's toxic masculinity with my generation, there's toxic masculinity with the younger generation. We call it different names, right? Because right now we're calling it red pill. But the older generation, than those people in the 20s and 30s, have their own form of toxic masculinity themselves. So where is she going to hide away from this toxic masculinity? Nowhere. She's the issue, right? She is the issue. And until she starts to actually do the work where she starts realizing what choices is she making that are inputting, that are causing her to deal with men this particular way, it won't change. Because really and truly what she wants is control. And there's nothing really bad with having control of your life. You should do. But when you go into a relationship, there's a level of giving that power up. Now, whether she's willing to give that power up is another story. Now, someone might scream out here, that's the patriarchy. I hear it, right? I hear it. There are actually bad parts of patriarchy, which I would agree with you, that need to be torn down. Hey, I'll work with you. But there's a parts of patriarchy which, if you want to call it that way, when I say patriarchy, what I mean by that is male leadership, which is what God actually instituted, that a man will rule over a woman. That's never going to change. It's never going to change. You have to get past it, get over it, move past it. I don't want to do. It's never going to change. And when men abuse that power, it always goes bad. Now, when you find somebody who actually upholds that in the right way, thank God, we see the blessings of it. Right now, when we get into relationships, God again instituted that men should ordinarily lead. Now, do I believe there are exceptions to the rule? Yes, there are. And maybe Tracee Ellis is an exception. Okay, maybe she is. But the way she's talking about it in terms of keeping control of her life sounds very much like the toxic men she's complaining about. That they want to have control over their life and be able to keep an independence and an avoidance from you getting too close to be able to have any say over their particular movements, their life decisions, what they're going to do. But relationships require for both people to submit. And when I say submit, what I mean by that is a man will submit to a woman by loving her, and a woman will submit to a man by respecting him, right? So he can't just do whatever he wants to do, right? He has to still consult his partner. He has to consult his wife. Now, some people abuse that, and some people have different dynamics where they're cool with the man making more decisions. That's up to you, right? Maybe Tracee Ellis is somebody who wants to make all the decisions. That's fine. But either way, like I said, when I'm listening to her, it sounds like she wants control, and she's going to indefinitely have a power dynamic. I don't care what no one says. Even if they're 35 and she's 50, there's going to be some form of dynamic. Because not only is she 50, but she's 50 with money and status and power. That immediately is going to be a power dynamic. You know what I'm saying to you, right? So again, I'm asking that question, where is she going to run to? Let's play a bit more of another clip.
Grief does surface for me around not having children and not having a partner. I still wouldn't want the wrong partner.
That's a great point for people to hear.
I'm not interested in that. You have to make my life better. It can't just be, I'm in a relationship to be in a relationship. So even though the grief does emerge and that comes and I hold that, I think of what I've done, and I woke up every morning trying to do my best. I didn't wake up one morning and be like, I'm going to mess this day up.
That's right.
So I must be where I'm supposed to be. And I don't know. Sometimes I think of all of the things I've done, the courage that I've had to have, and what I've had to learn how to navigate as a single person with no one to hide behind.
Yeah.
And it's built a really beautiful experience around me. And I have incredible friends.
Now, sometimes when you're hearing people talk, you actually hear a lot more of their avoidance. So they're so used to being on their own. They're so used to doing things by the way they want to do it. They're so used to having power to have control over their life that giving that up is a very hard thing. I mean, this is, if I'm correct, that's Diana Ross's, is it daughter or granddaughter? And so seeing, your mom become so empowered, so, with so much status, so much power, so much wealth potentially as well, right? The aspect of having control of your life, you may not want anybody to even smell like they can have a time to even say or tell you what to do, right? But relationships do incur with somebody telling you what to do. And that includes men as well, right? A man who doesn't listen to his wife and just does whatever he does is going to incur problems in that relationship. We all have to submit to something in a relationship, right? So for me, it sounds like hyper independence, where you can't interdependent on other people. And now we're using the excuse of younger men are less toxic. That's not what the ladies are saying on the other side. So that tells me that this is not a true, authentic, for me personally, it's my opinion, it's not a true, authentic ideology of what she's coming to. And actually and the conversation has gone wider because again, it becomes about trying to compare men and women and what they can do and what they can't do. Okay, my problem is just a generalization. When you start generalizing the fact that her generation are more toxic than the generation below her, I say, by what means are you measuring them? What means are you measuring them? But anyway, listen, that was my quick thoughts. I didn't want to go too deep. I thought that would be enough. But let me know your thoughts. Maybe you disagree. Kick it down below. We'll see you guys soon. Much love, much appreciated.